Well, good morning. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment and Council for Planning Matters meeting for Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, the Corporation of the Township of Lake and Bays. This is a hybrid public meeting. Please be aware we're recording this meeting for the public record. All information provided is being collected pursuant to the Planning Act to be used for the purpose of garnering your input, to respond to inquiries, be notified of future meetings, and is considered public information. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda? Moved by Councilor LaCroix, seconded by Councilor Papard. Be resolved, Committee of Adjustment Corporation of the Township of Lake and Bays agenda dated October 28, 2025 be adopted as amended with the addition of reports and bylaw 6A 2B 15-25 LB Brunskill, letter from Paul Brunskill, property owner. All those in Thank you for that. This morning, the Committee of Adjustment will be dealing with a variety of planning applications. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present to the committee and the public the details and backgrounds to the proposed applications, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. I'm going to go here now. Moved by Councilor Anderson, seconded by Councilor Brooks. Be resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby constitutes itself for the purpose of hearing matters in accordance with the Planning Act. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'd like to ask Councilor Brooks to please read our land acknowledgement statement. Good morning, and I'm glad you're here today, Councilor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. We recognize that we gather here on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee nations, acknowledging we are settlers here. We make our homes today on land bound by Treaty 13. It's through the long stewardship over thousands of years and the forced sacrifices of the original inhabitants that we're able to make this beautiful place our home. The ongoing stewardship of the environment is a legacy we must strive to treasure and preserve as we continue to learn from one another and grow together, sharing our collective history. We invite everyone to investigate the findings of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee and the treaties that still bind all of us so that we may share this land with honor and respect. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Councilor Brooks, thank you for that. I asked us, do any of my fellow committee members wish to declare any pecuniary interest relating to any of the files being heard and state the nature thereof? Councillor Godard.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. Reference item number 6A2, Brunskill Consent Application B 15-25, LOB 1080 Ferry Falls Road. This application for severance borders my property, and the Integrity Commissioner Suzanne Craig indicated that I do not have to declare pecuniary interest under the MCIA, so I am therefore not required to declare a conflict. However, I should step away from the dais during the discussion and not vote. My reason being is that while I have been advised that I do not have a pecuniary interest, but in the abundance of caution in adherence of the Code Section 2.14 of the Code of Conduct for members of Council, I will not be participating in this discussion or voting on the item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Godard. We're into the consent agenda. Moved by Councillor Brooks, second by Councillor Anderson. Whereas items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and enacted in one motion, committee members may request one or more items be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and or action. Each and every matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting. Whereas the Committee of Adjustment, the Corporation of the Township of Lake and Bays reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions. Be resolved that committee approve and adopt the recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated October 28, 2025, and direct staff to proceed with all the necessary administrative actions. Any questions? No one asked to have anything pulled. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. So we have no delegations under reports and bylaws. If you wish to speak to an application, you'll be required to raise your hand and come forward to the delegation stand, or if attending the meeting virtually, use the meeting controls to raise your hand and you'll be called by name to speak. Please clearly state your name and address and explain your views on the application being presented by the applicant. Please note your comments will be recorded. Those who have spoken or provided written comments will be added to the mailing list to receive a copy of the decision. Under consents, consent application B0825 LOB Bloor. And this will be Esther. Good morning, Esther. Welcome, and whenever you're ready.
Good morning, committee. Committee will recall that Resolution COA 18-2025 was passed at the September 30th, 2025 Committee of Adjustment meeting last month, directing staff to bring forward a draft provisional decision for application B0825 LOB Bloor at the today, October 28th Committee of Adjustment meeting. Application B0825 proposes to create one new and one retained lot with frontage along a township road allowance and Billy Bear Road, a privately maintained road. This proposal seeks to create a new lot for the purpose of providing access to the benefiting property and to remove the existing right-of-way across the retained lands. The proposed severed lot would be approximately 5 hectares in area, while the retained lot would be approximately 8.53 hectares. Both proposed lots have 0 public road frontage. The conditions included in the draft provisional decision, which is attached as Appendix D to the staff report, reflect comments from the District of Muskoka and internal departments within the township, as well as pre-consultation comments and discussions with the applicant's agent. We can pull up the provisional decision if committee has any questions on those conditions. That concludes the presentation on this application. I can answer any questions. The agent is also present here this morning that might be able to help with that too. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report. Questions, committee? Okay, seeing none, would you like to make a statement?
So good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Melissa Markham, Planning, 1025 Rebecca Lane, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H2J6. I'd just like to share my screen for a presentation with regards to the conditions that are proposed by staff, as these were not previously provided at the last meeting. So I did not make any comments with regards to these. So the owner and I have read the staff report. Once again, we don't agree with the recommendation. However, with regards to today's presentation, it will just be in keeping with the provisional decision and the conditions that have been provided by staff. I'll keep my comments brief and only to the conditions that are proposed. We would like to see some changes to the proposed conditions. Condition number 5 provides that all the lands in this area are rural general, and it is recommending that the lands be redesignated to an open space with an exception. As shown on this slide, you can see the subject lands. They're outlined in red. All of the lands in this area, even though they do not have frontage on a year-round maintained municipal road, are within the rural general. It is our recommendation or our request here today that the lands remain in a rural general planning permit area. And I think really where I'm going with this is the official plan is looking at open space, which includes public and private land for parkland, natural open space, environmentally sensitive areas. It's looking at, as I mentioned, active parks, cemeteries, recreational, educational, or interpretive facilities, historic and cultural sites and features, access points to water, recreational trails, water corridors or routes, and environmentally sensitive and significant natural areas. It is not the intent. There is no open space within these lands, and it is our request that this be rural general, and an exception can go forward, which is going to be required through this condition for the uses that are going to be permitted in future. The next condition, there's 1 in 5 that provides that the severed lands be redesignated, as I mentioned, from rural general to open space with an exception. I'd also like to provide that I believe that the conditions by staff with regards to the redesignation are in accordance with the rural general, as it's mentioning about a reduction in lot area and road frontage. These provisions don't exist in the open space designation, so I believe that the intent, once again, is to keep it in the rural general. Under 5 requires the severed lands and benefiting lands be deemed and defined as one lot for planning purposes, and a merger agreement be entered into. And then you have condition 7, that the benefiting lands be redesignated to rural general with an exception, and that the severed and benefiting lands be deemed and defined one lot for planning purposes and a merger agreement. 5A and 7 are the same condition. We don't believe that 7 should be required. It's already captured in 5A. And I'd also like to provide that merger agreements in the past that I have dealt with is when lands are essentially abutting and they can actually be merged. The whole intent behind zoning designating as one lot for planning purposes is for the bylaw to look at these 2 lots as one for planning purposes. A merger agreement, as these lands do not touch, the lands cannot be merged. So we're asking for that section of 5A to be removed, as we do not believe that the lands can be merged because they do not touch. And the redesignating as one lot for planning purposes will essentially provide that comfort from a zoning bylaw perspective that they are one lot for planning purposes. Once again, that section 7 be removed. And the following condition as well is that the solicitor provide the township with an undertaking that states that they will proceed with abandoning any extraneous portions of the right-of-way, which the owner is willing to do. However, we are questioning why this is within 3 weeks of registering the long-form certificate, and we're asking that the solicitor do provide that the undertaking be there be an undertaking. However, the 3 weeks we believe is a pretty tight turnaround, and with the undertaking we know that this will happen, and we are asking that that 3 weeks be removed from that condition. So once again, we're looking for the rural general to be the exception on the subject property. We're looking for the merger agreement to be removed. We're looking for section 7 be deleted because it is the same as 5A, and that 3 week requirement be removed from the conditions. I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the agent? Okay, back to staff. Esther.
Through you, Chair. The open space designation is being recommended to limit the ability for that lot to be developed, because the proposal that was brought, that was being proposed, is to create an undersized rural lot with no road frontage. And the reason why we are recommending denial was because the bylaw clearly states that there needs to be public road frontage. To create a standalone lot for this purpose, we felt like the open space designation was appropriate to for the use that was being proposed. Regarding the merger agreement, I haven't done very many of these, but it's my understanding that these are two separate lots, so they both had to be rezoned in order to be properly designated. If April, if I've got that wrong, if you could correct me, please. And then, of course, if then because we need the merger agreement to tie them together, then the solicitor is required to put that into place. Sorry. And regarding the right-of-way, my apologies. Regarding the right-of-way, the 3 weeks within the undertaking to remove that within 3 weeks, that's just standard language that we always use for this kind of thing. We consider that to be a reasonable time frame. Does that address the questions?
Well, we'll see. Okay, first I'll go to Councillor Tapley.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. The lawyers say, people we consulted say that they can be merged. I'm looking at looking at it, so.
Through you, Chair, thank you for your question. This is a mechanism that we can use to tie the two together, and it was it was offered as an option or a recommended solution during the pre-consultation stage that this would be. I mean, we were very clear that we didn't feel like this should be supported because it was creating an undersized lot. But the merger agreement to tie them together would be an alternative planning tool in which to let this go forward.
Okay, thank you, because I'm very much in favor of them being merged. Otherwise, we have a standalone undersized lot that they could build on. So if I'm creating this lot, I don't want you building on it. But if I'm merging it with that lot, I'm okay. All right, thank you.
Councillor Papard.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Am I wrong, or wasn't there a hunt camp on the benefiting lands currently, some sort of building?
Councillor Tapley.
Sorry.
Through you, Chair. Thank you for your question. Yes, the benefiting lot
Yeah.
is currently operating and developed as a hunt camp.
So, supplementary, if I may, how would this then further restrict any building or rebuilding or slight expansion of a hunt camp if it's becoming open space?
Sorry, to clarify,
Yeah.
the benefiting lands are not being rezoned open space.
Well, they're not
It is
being rezoned.
only the small severed piece that is being used as a road for access. That's the only spot that's being designated as open space.
Oh, I agree with that. Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Okay, I don't see any. Is there anyone in the public? One there? No. Anyone in the public wish to speak to this file? No one online? Moved by Councillor Brooks, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Whereas the Committee of Adjustment of the Corporation of the Township of Liquid Bays hereby receives a staff report, consent application BO825 LB Bloor, part of Lot 3, Concession 12, Sinclair Ward, roll number 4427-020-010-04802, dated October 28, 2025. And whereas the applicant has submitted consent application BO825 LB Bloor to create one new and one retained parcel of land with the proposed severed lands providing a driveway for access purposes to a property to the northwest of the subject lands where access is currently provided over a right-of-way. Therefore, be it resolved that consent application BO825 LB Bloor be approved subject to the provisional decision attached to the staff report as Appendix D. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, consent application B1525 LB Brunskill, report by Esther. Welcome again, Esther.
Thank you. Application B25 proposes to create one new and one retained lot for residential purposes. The proposed severed lands will have frontage on and access from Ferry Falls Road, a year-round publicly maintained road. The resulting retained lands will have no road frontage. Staff are recommending denial of the application. It is the opinion of staff the proposal does not conform to township and district official plan policy, nor complies with the community planning permit bylaw with respect to lot area and public road frontage for rural lots. Committee may recall two previous applications in 2022 and again in 2023, where lots 1 through 5, as shown here, were created by way of the consent process. For this application, the proposed severed lot would be an estimated 2.14 hectares in area with 141 meters of frontage on Ferry Falls Road, which is a township road, while the proposed retained lot would be approximately 7.31 hectares in area with 0 meters of road frontage, with access via an existing right-of-way. The property is designated rural general in the CPP bylaw, which requires lots to have 152 meters of public road frontage with 10 hectares of area. A concurrent bylaw amendment has also been submitted proposing to redesignate the land redesignate the lands from rural general to rural residential to accommodate the reduced land area and to request relief from the public road frontage requirement. During pre-consultation, staff noted concerns that the proposal would be creating an undersized rural lot that does not meet Section I-17 of the township's official plan, which requires for all new rural development to front on and be accessible from a year-round maintained road. The applicant was advised that an official plan amendment would be required to obtain relief from this section. Staff indicated that the proposed severance would be difficult for staff to support. No official plan amendment application nor further revisions to the application have been received. Therefore, the proposal before committee does not address staff's concerns. Planning justification provided by the applicant's agent states that although the retained lands would not have direct public road frontage, the applicant holds ownership to existing Lot 2, as highlighted here, which does have 152 meters of public road frontage on Fairy Falls Road. The applicant currently gains access to the retained lot across a legal right-of-way located on Lot 2. It is the opinion of staff that the ownership of Lot 2 is not pertinent to this application. Lot 2 is a legally separate and conveyable parcel of land, and no request has been submitted to merge the retained lands with Lot 2. Here are some photos of the subject property from the previous consent application along Fairy Falls Road and images of the existing development on the proposed retained lot. There have been no comments received from members of the public regarding this application. The District of Muskoka, whose comments are attached to the staff report, is recommending denial based on the lack of public road frontage for the retained lot. The application before committee this morning proposes a standalone parcel deficient in year-round maintained public road frontage. It is the opinion of staff that this does not conform to policy nor to rural character. In conclusion, staff are recommending that the application be denied, as it's the opinion of staff that the proposal does not maintain the intent of the township nor district official plans, and further, that the application does not represent good planning. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I'm available for any questions. The applicant's agent is available on Zoom, and the applicant is here today in the gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Questions for Esther on this file? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. Thanks, Esther. Just a clarification on the current exemption 217 that is on that full property at this point. If a severance happened, does that 217 stay with the severed property, or does it disappear and it would have to be a new exemption?
Thank you for your question through you, Chair. If it were to be provisionally approved, it would come forward for a zoning bylaw amendment to restrict that particular property, and I would recommend that those provisions be brought forward to remain on that severed land. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks. I think that helps. May I? Thanks. Did a concurrent application come for rezoning at the?
Through you, Chair Glover, thank you for your question again. Yes, the concurrent application for the bylaw amendment that has been submitted is kind of preempting, waiting for a decision on this. So it would be to address the deficiencies in the remaining lands.
Sure.
Thank you again for that, Mayor Glover. So the understanding, it's not part of this current file, but if it's my understanding that there would be enough acreage for rural residential zoning in both properties. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Glover. The rural residential requirement, the minimum requirement for lots in rural residential are 2 hectares with 152 meters of public road frontage. So the severed lot would be slightly deficient in road frontage, which would have to be addressed through a site-specific on the zoning. And then the back lot, or the retained lot, would that also, I mean, it would have enough road area, but not enough road frontage.
Okay, and I remind everybody, this is denied by both the district and ourselves, and the road frontage is the key issue to our official plan. So there's another way that this could possibly be, but I'm certainly not in favor of it at this point. Councillor Tapley.
Thank you. I'm a little confused. As usual, the right-of-way comes through Lot 2, and that provides access. We had no concerns with that before they wanted to sever the other lot. Can you explain to me why that would be?
Through you, Mayor Glover, thank you for your question. As a caveat, when we get a planning application, we look at it with the merits of what is being proposed. So if you were to give it some context, originally the first application for lots severed on this property came in 2022 for lots 1, 2, and 3. So if you can picture, there was quite a bit of road frontage left for the retained property. And the way it was proposed at that time, the decision was made that they would have turned their existing driveway into a legal right-of-way, which was done across Lot 2. And then when lots 4 and 5 were severed in 2023, the remaining lot, which is proposed to be severed in this application, provided enough road frontage for the retained lot for it to exist and still have road frontage, even though the entrance was in a different location. So at that time, it was supportable. Does that answer your question?
Okay, if there's no further questions, let's go to the agent. He's online somewhere. Yeah. Good morning, can't hear you. Still can't hear you? Now we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I just muted myself for a second there. So I apologize.
Good morning, Savas, go ahead.
My name is Savas Feradas of Plan Muskoka. My mailing address is P.O. Box 5384, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H2K7. I'm here this morning with Paul Brunskill, the applicant, representing him as his agent and as a professional planner. I've listened to the discussion, I've read staff's report, and I understand the recommendation on this matter. It's not a straightforward application by any means. I'm hoping just to provide the committee with some practical reasons in support of the proposed consent here this morning for your consideration in making a decision on this matter. So I think you've heard a little bit about staff's feelings on the matter and sort of the history about the applications leading up to this point. The basis of this was that we felt that the proposed severance does not remove any usable frontage from the retained lands. When I say usable, I mean the frontage that goes with the existing land holdings currently for the retained lands is sort of to the south end of the property, whereas the access and the development for those lands occurs and exists at sort of the northern side of the property. So although the retained lot technically has no direct road frontage as a result of this proposed severance, it does benefit from the registered legal right-of-way that exists over the driveway into the lands. This ensures continued legal and physical access to a year-round maintained roadway, which has regard to the requirements of the official plan. While it doesn't actually have frontage on it, it has access to in a legal sense. In this sense, the frontage being used for the new lot is surplus to the needs of the retained property, meaning that we never thought that there would be any ability or that there would be any future use of that frontage for the retained lands as its access is legally established at the northern end of the property. So allocating that frontage to a new rural lot is what we felt a logical and efficient use of that land, serving the greater public interest by creating a new housing potential without altering existing access to the retained lands. From a servicing perspective, the proposed severed lot at approximately 2.1 hectares is sufficient in size to support private individual wells and septic systems, and this is consistent with the rural service expectations of the township of Lake Cabays. And despite the lack of direct frontage, the retained parcel remains substantially larger than the minimum requirement for rural residential lands, being at 7.3 hectares. This preserves a very low development density across the original land holdings, even after the severance, should it be approved. This also allows for a large area of natural open space across the retained lands and helps maintain the intended rural character and density objectives of the district and township official plans. The proposed lot maintains a comparable size and scale to the other lots in the area along Fairy Falls Road in particular, ensuring that it is compatible with the established character of the development pattern of the neighborhood. And to ensure that there's no environmental concerns with the proposal, an EIS by Beacon Environmental was submitted in support of the application. It found no significant wetlands, fish habitat, or endangered species habitat being affected by the proposal. It looked at wildland fire risks and it concluded that those can be reduced to moderate low through standard mitigation measures, and it recommended that all mitigation measures can be secured through a Section 5126 agreement for the as a condition of the approval of these lands, of the severance of these lands. These findings do show that the proposal does not negatively impact any natural heritage features of the proposal of the subject lands, I should say. So while the proposal is to create a new lot that results in the retained lands being devoid of road frontage, it doesn't leave the retained lands landlocked, nor does it affect its existing legal access and vehicular access over its existing driveway in any way. Because of this, it seems that the creation of the new proposed lot does appear to have regard to the policies of the official plan and be good planning in providing a use for the surplus lands that's in greater public interest, and does so in a way that is in character with the surrounding area. So that sort of concludes my presentation here this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have, but I believe Mr. Brunskill would like to add a few words as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Questions for Savas? Not seeing any, so I'll go to Mr. Brunskill. Go ahead, sir. Did you want to come to the podium and make a statement? Yes, please. I'll need your name and address for the record, and then you have the floor.
Okay, my name is Paul Brunskill. I own the lands at 1080 Fairy Falls Road. And anyway, so these severances have been a very long and frustrating process. And it all started in 2021. At that time, I was told I could only sever 3 lots at a time, plus 1 retained, or I'd be into a plan of subdivision. My property was developed in the early 80s, as was my neighbor's, Eric Robinson's. As I said, this started in the time of COVID. Since there was no subdivision, I decided to do the severances in pieces. Each of the first 2 severances, and this one as well, have had separate meetings for the severances and the bylaw amendments. This has caused me significant delays and additional costs. Whereas if I had both of these dealt with in the same meeting, as many others have, I would have been able to get some of the COVID pricing craze and not be subjected to extra costs for planner, lawyer, interest, my money being tied up, all of the above. And we are in a housing crisis. The provincial, the district, and the Lake Cabays policies all discuss this goal. As I noted in the addendum I sent out Sunday, I started reviewing Lake Cabays Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes to see if other applicants were getting the same treatment as I was getting, and found that it gives the illusion of this not being the case. The first main area was for other subdivisions with no OPA request. Levy had 8 lots with no plan of subdivision, And there is that little 1 hour versus 6 hour well concern I noted. And I apologize if I butcher the name. Laguna Bosco is on an at capacity Rebecca Lake, 8 new lots with 7 right-of-ways on a minor variance with concurrent bylaw amendment in the same meeting. Elcott, 5 lots with no EIS, no fire study, only a report on 1 lot that had a cold water stream that had to be crossed. Keller had 5 new lots with 1 retained, no EIS or other studies, and did not meet municipal road frontage requirements. Sunset Rock had 5 lots and 1 retained on an unmaintained road allowance, and the township assumed 325 meters of Sale Road to get year-round road maintenance. I will address Barnstyle in the next section. There were also several instances of right-of-ways into other places. The first one is my neighbor Eric Robinson, who works at Lake Bays. Got a building permit in 2024 without any of the site access issues that I've been having. His driveway is off a road allowance that comes off of 17 Acres Road. And the township trucked in over 100 loads of fill, ditch scrapings, into his place in the ditches where cottagers dump oil, gas, pesticides, you name it. And all of that was dumped right beside the lake. Pinkard got a right-of-way off a private road with 5 objection letters. Barnstaple subdivision with 7 people plus the owner who had a right-of-way on a lake with sensitive fish habitat. Mamano, sorry if I butchered that one, created 3 extra lots on Dottie Lake with a right-of-way over Crown land on a sensitive trout lake that's at capacity and specified by the province as being unable to sustain further lot creation. Bloor, the application before me. So there were several severances given at the same meeting as the bylaw amendments being granted. Both of the Van Cleef severances and noted and major variances were granted by staff before it even got to Committee of Adjustment. Levy subdivision, severance as a bylaw amendment at the same meeting. Elcott, Keller, Laguna Bosco, all had both granted at the same meeting, and Laguna Bosco was 8 lots with 7 right-of-ways on a minor variance. In conclusion, I wanted to summarize some anomalies I found and some notes. So, one of the suggestions made in the staff report was that I merge the retained with Lot 2. So that would mean that I would have to buy Lot 2 back from the owner, and it totally defeats the purpose of severing Lot 6. So, and the new lot, the only new lot being created is on a public road, which is Ferry Falls Road. My pre-consult gave recommendations for an OPA with costs of $5,900 given, but it would be significantly more by the time you have a planner and a lawyer, again, with the interest on the money that I would have tied up as well. And it would take 2 to 3 years. It would end up costing me $40,000 or $50,000 easily. All of this is on top of 4.5 years to get to this point. I gave several examples of subdivision plans, right-of-ways, and examples of severances and bylaw amendments being completed in one meeting. Given how my applications have all gone to date, it is possible to a casual observer to see where this would give the illusion of preferential treatment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brunskill. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Brunskill? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to this file online or here today? Okay, I have a resolution in front of me. Moved by Councilor LaCroix, seconded by Councilor Papard. Whereas the Committee of Adjustment of the Corporation of the Township of Lake Bay hereby receives the staff report, consent application B1525 LOB Brunskill, 1080 Ferry Falls Road, roll number 442704000206300, dated October 28, 2025. And whereas the applicant has submitted consent application B1525 LOB Brunskill to create one new parcel of land for future residential purposes having frontage on access from Ferry Falls Road, a year-round maintained township road, and one retained parcel of land with 0 meters of road frontage where access is provided via an existing legal right-of-way. Therefore, be it resolved that consent application B1525 LOB Brunskill be denied. All those in favor? Is there anyone opposed? So it's lost vote. Okay, thank you very much for that. I guess anyway, I can't even. Okay, moved by Councilor Papard, seconded by Councilor LaCroix. Be resolved, the Committee of Adjustment of the Corporation of the Township of Lake Bay is hereby adjourns at 9:41 a.m. to meet again on November 25th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in a hybrid meeting setting. All those in favor? Carried. So now we're adjourned for a recess of 10 minutes. It's 9:41, 9:52. We'll meet again. Okay, we are having some pretty interesting technical difficulties right now with our transmitting of the meeting. So we will be closing off this meeting and we will be starting a new meeting at 10:15. We will be sending links to whoever's still connected so that they can rejoin the meeting. And we're asking that anyone else that wishes to can rejoin the new meeting. And that'll be on our YouTube channel as this one is, I assume. Yeah, okay, so sorry for that. Please bear with us, but we'll be joining again at 10:15. Thank you. back, and I want to apologize again for the technical difficulty, but we believe we're okay for now. This is the Township of Liga Bay's Council for Planning Matters meeting. So I have a script I'm going to read. Anyone that's trying to log in again, I'm very sorry, you just use the same link and you'll be able to get in, and we've had to restart the meeting, but we are here. Good morning and welcome to the Township of Liga Bay's Council for Planning Matters hybrid public meeting. Please be aware we're recording this meeting for the public record. All information provided is being collected pursuant to the Planning Act and be used for the purpose of garnering your input to respond to inquiries and notified of future meetings and is considered public information. This meeting is now being called to order. Are there any additions to the agenda? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Tapley, seconded by Councillor Papard. Be resolved, the Council for Planning Matters meeting agenda dated October 28, 2025 be adopted as amended. Reports and bylaws, 6BI CPP 09 2025 LOB Knox letter of support. All under the same heading, Knox letter of support, Mark and Sue Carville. James Chisholm, letter of support, Jim McIntosh. Letter of support, Wally and Sue Holbisky. And then 6BI CPP 090 2025 LB Knox, letter from property owners Lynn and John Knox. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, that approved the agenda, right? Yeah, sorry. During this meeting, council will be dealing with a variety of planning applications. Generally, the Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before council makes a decision on an application. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present to council and the public details and background to the proposed applications, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. In this regard, I'd like to read the following statements with respect to site-specific amendments to the Community Planning Permit Bylaw. Under Section 34, subsection 12, the council shall ensure that sufficient information and materials made available to enable the public to understand generally the zoning proposal that's being considered by the council. The staff report on each application is available on the township website, along with reports submitted in support of an application. Under Section 34, subsection 14.5, council shall ensure that information is made available to the public regarding who's entitled to appeal. The applicant, a specified person as defined by the Planning Act, the public body, or the registered owner of any land to which the bylaw would apply, who before the bylaws passed made oral submission at a public meeting or written submissions to the council or the minister, may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal not later than 20 days after the day giving of notice is completed. Do any of my fellow committee members wish to declare any pecuniary interest related to the files being heard, then state the nature thereof? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for that. We're moving into reports and bylaws, if you wish. Thank you. Moved by I'm going to say that's Anderson, or is that Brooks? Anyway, let's say Anderson. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Godard. Whereas items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and enacted in one motion, council members may request one or more items be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and or action. Each and every matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting. And whereas Council of the Corporation of the Township of Liga Bay has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, bylaws, now therefore be resolved that the Mayor and Council approve and adopt recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated October 28, 2025, and direct staff to proceed with all the necessary administrative actions. Questions? All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. If you wish to speak to an application, you will be required to raise your hand and come forward to the delegation stand, or if attending the meeting virtually, use the meeting controls to raise your hand and you'll be called by name to speak. Clearly state your name and address, explain your views on the application being presented by the applicant. Please note that your comments will be recorded. Those who have spoken or provided written comments will be added to the mailing list to receive a copy of the decision. We're into amendments to Bylaw 2021-111, Bylaw Amendment Application Z1725 LOB Embury, and it'll be Arla. Good morning, Arla, and welcome.
Good morning, thank you. Application Z17-25 LOB has been submitted for a property on Peninsula Lake, and is requesting approval to rezone the lands from waterfront residential to waterfront residential with an exception. The purpose of this application is to demolish one of the existing legal nonconforming dwellings on the property in order to construct an expanded two-story dwelling in generally the same location. Additionally, this application is proposing to demolish an existing legal non-complying dock and boathouse in order to construct a new boathouse in generally the same location as well. The property was identified to be abutting sensitive type 1 fish habitat during pre-consultation review, and the applicants provided a fish habitat assessment as part of their submission. Staff are recommending approval of the application today. To keep things simple, we can look at this application as two parts. First being the dwelling demo and rebuild, and then second being the boathouse demo and rebuild. The site plan is on the screen there before you. You can see the boathouse kind of at the bottom right corner. The existing footprint is in yellow. I've got a closer view of the site plan coming up. And then the existing dwelling further north of that can also be seen in yellow with proposed structures on top in red. Photos on the screen show you the existing dwelling seen from the shoreline yard in the top image. Then the bottom image shows the existing boathouse seen kind of from the side of the shoreline. So let's start with the dwelling. In terms of relief, this application is specifically seeking to permit the demo and rebuild of a legal nonconforming dwelling at a reduced shoreline yard setback of 24 meters, where 30 meters is required and 24 meters is existing. The property is developed with two dwellings, and the bylaw requires council approval for any expansions to legal nonconforming structures. The application seeks to expand the dwelling footprint from 151 square meters existing to 211 square meters proposed, with all additional footprint being added at the rear of the dwelling. So this allows for the new dwelling to maintain the existing shoreline setback. The proposed structure complies with the maximum permitted height as per the bylaw, but is increasing above the existing dwelling. So the height's getting higher, but complies with what the bylaw permits as of right. There's a better photo that the agent has provided of the existing dwelling kind of at the bottom there, and I've included a closer view of the site plan so you can see the existing dwelling is not going any closer than the proposed dwelling is not going any closer than existing. Next, we can look at the boathouse. So in terms of relief, this application is proposing to recognize a decreased interior side yard setback for the shoreline activity area, where a minimum setback of 4.5 meters is required. They are seeking to recognize existing 0 meters. The property is developed with the existing dock and boathouse encroaching over the lot line projection into the neighboring shoreline yard at an existing 0 meter side yard setback. The applicants are proposing to demo the existing shoreline structure and construct a new one in a slightly shifted location so that it's entirely on their property, but they are still seeking to recognize the 0 meters. I've included a closer view of the site plan there so you can see the proposed boathouse is shifting slightly further to the left, and the agents have provided an aerial photo so you can see the existing boathouse is kind of falling apart. They want to demo, rebuild in generally the same location, slightly larger footprint entirely on their property. The applicants provided a fish habitat assessment as part of a complete application. The consultants explained in their assessment that the proposal could be split into two classifications for the purpose of understanding potential impact to fish habitat. So we can look at it firstly at in-water work, and second classification would be near-water work. So the in-water work would include the demolition of the existing dock and boathouse and the construction of the new boathouse and dock, and then the near-water work would include the demolition of the existing 1.5-story dwelling to construct a new expanded 2-story dwelling. The assessment outlined a number of recommendations that should be implemented to reduce potential impacts of both in-water and near-water work. Provided the mitigation measures and recommendations outlined in the assessment are implemented, there's no expectation that either the near-water or in-water construction will result in negative impacts to fish habitat. The assessment continues by concluding that overall, removal of the existing crib structures and construction of the new boathouse on helical piles will offer a net benefit to fish habitat post-construction. Staff have no concerns with the approval of this application, provided the recommendations in the fish assessment are implemented as conditions of a planning permit. So on the screen before you, there's a figure that was provided by the environmental consultant. They've identified where some silt fencing should go and appropriately mapped out the location of where that should go as per their recommendations, and then just a few more images provided by the agent. Some more photos on the screen for you. The top left image shows the rear of the existing dwelling and identifies the location of where all the additional dwelling footprint will be located, as well as some accessory storage structures that are proposed to be demolished as part of this application. The top right image shows the shoreline yard and the existing boathouse that again is going to be demolished. The bottom left image shows the shoreline yard. You can kind of see the tip of the dwelling there and the boathouse off in the background. And then the bottom right image shows the second dwelling that's on the property. There's no proposed work for that second dwelling today. In terms of comments, the Clerk's Department confirmed that the shore road allowance for this property has already been closed. The Building Department had recommended that the boathouse would need to be located at least 2 feet from the property line, or the design would have to meet specific requirements under the building code. So they would need to provide construction with non-combustible materials, appropriate fire separation, those sorts of details, and building code requirements. They're not necessarily a planning matter, and they can be dealt with at the building stage, but I thought it'd be important to highlight. The fire department did confirm that adequate access for firefighting should be provided. Again, can be dealt with later at the building stage. And the District of Muskoka confirmed that they have no objections to the application, provided the fish habitat assessment is implemented. Overall, staff have no concerns with the approval of the application, subject to our recommendation outlined in the report. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The agent is present online if anyone has questions for him. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Appreciate that. Questions for Arla? Councillor Tapley.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. Arla, the second residence is not a bunkie, it's an actual second cottage.
Through you, Mayor Glover, yes, the property is developed with 2 dwellings, and then there is a sleeping cabin in the shoreline yard as well.
And were they legal, non-complying, non-conforming, whatever?
Yes.
Okay, so I wondered how they got that. Okay.
Councillor Picard.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff. Just curious, why were the stone patio and the shed highlighted in the photos? And are these 2 shoreline activity areas, or are they close enough to be considered one?
Through you, Mayor Glover. April, could you pull up the site plan that shows the shoreline? It should be, I think, slide 4. One back. There you go. Could you clarify which?
I just noted there's red circles around the shoreline patio as well as the shed. I thought they might have come up in conversation, and I was wondering whether or not these are actually 2 shoreline activity areas, or if they're close enough together to be considered one shoreline activity area.
Through you, Mayor Glover, thank you for the question. So the red circles were added by the agent. They were just on the picture when they provided it with the application. When it comes to the shoreline activity area, there's 1 permitted SAA, but it is split into 2 portions. So cumulatively, they comply with what they're allowed. The existing dock that you can see off to the left is one of the SAAs, and then the existing dock and boathouse that they're proposing to demo and rebuild is the second part of that shoreline activity area. And as part of this application, the applicants are proposing to remove a portion of the stone patio that's circled in red to make sure that the SAA complies with the new boathouse that's being built.
Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Arla. That was a good report. I have no problem with the residents. I'm just questioning about the boathouse, though. When we have 0 lot line, but we have the opportunity to move it off, because it is new. It's not going to be on cribs anymore. It's going to be on piles. And the comment from staff, from building department, is addressing what they need to deal with in spatial separation. So it's a matter of getting away from the property line And it's, you said that it can be dealt with at permit stage, but we're approving it at 0. So how can we approve it at 0 if staff needs to, if building department needs to address it as minimum of 2 feet? So why not just move it to 2 or 4 feet?
Through you, Mayor Glover, thank you for your questions. During the pre-consultation stage, staff recommended that the boathouse be relocated to comply with the side yard setback. This is the application that was submitted. With respect to design and building materials, that all will get dealt with at the building stage if council elects to approve the 0 meter setback. The 2 feet is a recommendation from, I believe, under the building code. So from a planning perspective, the 0 meters is what they're asking for. We did recommend that it be relocated, but again, this is the application that was submitted.
Perhaps a question for the agent? Anyone else? Councillor LaCroix.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the same question as Councillor Brooks. I just wondered why, it would, if it's being demolished, why we couldn't move it off the property line, but like you said, we'll ask.
Okay, and TACA couldn't be here today, but anyway, we'll ask the agent. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any more. Is the agent here today or online or, oh, there you are. Okay, good day, sir.
Good morning, Committee. Lanny Dennis. Lanny Dennis Planning. Represent the owners. Appreciate the efforts of staff bringing the application forward. I had a chance to obviously listen to the presentation by the Planning Department and review the planner's report. I thought it was quite thorough and comprehensive and addressed all the relevant issues. I concur with the Planning Department to approve the application, and there's no concerns with the recommended amendment that's drafted. Just to deal with it, I just wanted to highlight a lot of these points have already been brought forward in the staff report, but just to reiterate, the additional living space on the cottage is at the rear. It's about 36 meters back from the shoreline. The owners are removing staircases and sheds, reducing the clutter on the property to improve the visual impact and to keep the lot coverage down. There's a fair amount of vegetation on the property, which helps buffer the new build. The new build is roughly in the same footprint, and the impact has been more or less already established. We tried to do this through sort of a comprehensive review of the site and the redevelopment of the site, not an ad hoc situation where folks wanted to rebuild the cottage and deal with the boathouse at the same time. The fish habitat assessment indicates that there's no negative impacts. We're certainly well under the maximum lot coverage, coming in at 7.66%. Up marginally from 6.16%, certainly well under the maximum 10%. There's certainly an ample frontage and area on the property to accommodate the proposed request, and we're not coming any closer than the existing setback as noted by the Planning Department. The side yard setbacks also comply, so the issue with respect to compatibility has been addressed. With respect to the boathouse, it is being shifted over. It's being relocated to, it's still 0 meters, but it's no longer an encroachment on the abutting property. It's being built on the same general location as the previous boathouse, and in so doing, it helps minimize the ecological impacts and the environmental impacts as a result of the new build, and this was identified in the ecological report. In fact, they're removing the cribs, reducing the footprint on the lake bed and building it on helical piles, which is an improvement. One of the main reasons, there's a small little jut of land that sticks out from this property that helps buffer the new build from the abutting properties, and then also the abutting property shoreline activity area is quite a bit removed further down the shoreline. It's a relatively low-profile structure. There was the size in itself is roughly about 12.3 square meters larger than what was there. The projection out into the water is less than what it previously was, and the shoreline activity area was at 31%, up roughly from 26.4%. So still well under what is permitted, and the maximum width still complies. As noted by the planning department, with respect to the Ontario Building Code, the detailed design of the boathouse can be addressed at the building permit stage to ensure that we meet the Ontario Building Code requirements. So that would complete my presentation, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your question, and would respectfully request committee approve the application. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. Can I ask a question of staff? So, of course, it was mentioned a couple times that councilors had concerns for where the boathouse is and wanted it moved over, and then I just heard now that that can be addressed at another time. Is council able to suggest that, or say that they want the boathouse moved over?
Thank you for the question. Through you, the application before you is requesting a decision for the dwelling and the boathouse. Should council wish to defer the application, that would be, that has to come from either the applicants or yourselves. The draft bylaw that's before you deals with both structures.
Okay, go to council. Go ahead, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the dilemma that this the formality of this application has put us into a bit of a quandary here, because we have, for me, I have no issue with the build with the house, but again, staff, our building department said their recommendation was to move it. Staff has decided to ignore the recommendation of the building department to move it. I'm saying that we should move it. It should be, it's not a big deal to move it from 0 to 2 or 4 feet. You know, it's...
Okay, if I can just correct you, I don't think staff choose to ignore anything. I think that the fact of the matter is the staff are stating what was originally proposed. So even though staff agree with you, they proposed this application that says 0. Okay, so they didn't choose to ignore it.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? Councillor Tapley.
Through you, the boathouse is protected by a little piece of land that sticks out. So I don't have a problem with it being moved to that foot or so to put it on their property. The question is for the planner. Your picture of the shoreline of the subject lands, they're red circles. I don't know what they mean. I mean, I know they're red circles, and they're around the stairway, and then two on the shoreline, and one on the, I don't know what they are. Could you please explain those?
Okay, if you want to come back up, Lanny, and explain the circles. I think Arla tried to address them, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think Arla had explained that in terms of what the red circles were. I didn't put them on there. The designer did.
That's where UFOs landed.
No, can you bring up the picture? Don't leave, Lanny. Not that one. That one. Why? What are they all indicating? Do you know, Lanny? They removing them? Are they removing structures?
So the one at the bottom left is the stone deck area that's to be removed. The other circles sort of up to the top indicate stone pathways down to the water, and I'm not sure what the, yes, thank you. The shed is just above the existing boathouse.
Oh, it's invisible under the trees. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask, we have someone online, Scott. I don't have a last name, but he's online. He wants to speak, so we'll go to him. Okay, Scott, I'll need your name and address for the record. And you'll have to turn your mute off and allow us to hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. If you can turn it up a bit, it'd be great.
Okay, sorry. This is actually Drew from Randy Blaine Construction, representing the client. I'm located at 34A King William Street, Huntsville, P1H1C8. I can answer the question about the red circles. If somebody could pull up that same image, I can explain what we're trying to accomplish with the boathouse location as well. This property and the owners particularly, when they hired us on, the condition is that we do this work to bring it back to the exact same style and look that's on the property. They respect the heritage of the property, where it's been for as long as it's been there, so much so that the homeowner requested that we don't even change the walkway stones down to the lake. The circles are indicating the areas that would be considered shoreline activity area that are already existing. We're just looking to lift up and relay the exact same product in the exact same place, just to avoid tripping hazards and such, because the current condition has been left for many years and could be tripping hazards for young people or old people alike. So we're just trying to tidy up those areas, and we're just indicating pathways to lead to both the dock, the floating dock section at the larger patio, and then subsequently over towards the little sleeping cabin and boathouse on the left. The boathouse relief, we're happy to comply and move slightly. What we're trying to avoid is moving the boathouse directly into that little inlet or bay. That's an area where grandkids swim currently. The dogs go in and out of the lake, and it would directly obstruct the view that's been sitting there for 80 some odd years from the cottage out to the lake. We're happy to twist the boathouse as we've actually put on the application here. I believe it actually is more than 0 meters. Lanny, maybe you can correct me, but when we did our site plan review, I think we're actually almost a meter off the actual lot line itself, with the exception of possibly one corner, the back corner of the boathouse structure. So we are trying to comply. We're trying to keep the property looking the same from the lake as it always has, but we just want to bring it to modern day standard. And this property would be something that would be a generational property for the family for years to come.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we just wanted you to work it out with building, and we wanted to put something there had we not had that type of an answer. So any further questions, council? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this file online or in our audience? I have a resolution moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Brooks. Whereas the Council for Planning Matters, Corporation of the Township of Lake Bays hereby receives a staff report, bylaw amendment application Z1725 LOB Embry 1001 Sunset Beach Road, Unit 3, roll number 4427 01000601800, dated October 28th, 2025. And whereas the applicants have submitted bylaw amendment application Z1725 LOB Embry in order to permit the demolition and expansion of an existing legal non-conforming dwelling and the demolition and expansion of an existing legal non-complying dock and boathouse. Therefore, be resolved, application Z1725 LOB Embry be approved, and that bylaw 2025-142 be read and passed by council. Council, for the question, all those in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. The corporation. Thank you. And then I have a bylaw, the Corporation of the Township of Lake Bays, bylaw number 2025-142, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2021-111, known as the Community Planning Permit Bylaw, Embry. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Bylaw amendment application Z1925 LOB 2493897 Ontario Inc. And again, it's Arla. Go ahead, Arla, when you're ready.
Thank you. Bylaw amendment application Z19-25 LOB has been submitted for property at 25 Bridge Street in the community of Baysville. The purpose of application Z19-25 is to redesignate the subject lands from settlement core commercial to the settlement multiple residential planning permit area with an exception. Staff are recommending approval of this application. The property is subject to previous site-specific zoning exceptions that were granted in 2021 in order to recognize a reduced lot area and road frontage that were the result of a previous severance application, and to permit the construction of townhouses at reduced front, rear, and side yard setbacks. The purpose of this application today is to further reduce the minimum required exterior side yard setback from 3 meters to 2.9 meters proposed. During the beginning stages of construction for the proposed townhouses, it was brought to staff's attention that the foundation was poured 0.1 meters too close to the exterior side lot line along Bridge Street. There was no wiggle room or variances allowed in the previous site-specific bylaw to allow staff to further reduce the minimum required 3 meters. And as such, the applicants are seeking to permit the reduction to 2.9 meters today. There are no other changes to the previously approved development, and no new development is proposed as part of this application. Staff have no concerns with the approval of this application, subject to the recommendations outlined in the staff report. There's 2 photos on the screen for you. The top image shows the exterior side yard along Bridge Street, and the closest corner that you can see there is where the as-built foundation encroaches into the 2.9, where they have to be 3. The bottom image shows, it's taken from Bay Street looking south towards Bridge Street, so you can get a different idea of the foundation. That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Council, questions for Arla on this file? Councillor Godard.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. I wondered how it got to be the 0.1 out. Was it a surveyor's mistake? Do we know?
Through you, Mayor Glover, I don't have that answer, I'm sorry.
Perhaps you can ask the agent if you wish. Okay, any further questions for staff for Arla? Okay, is the agent here, Scott Betts? Yes, if you could come to the podium, please, sir. Name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours.
My name is Scott Betts, Vice President of Better Measures. I live at 793727 East Backline in Grey Highlands. Yeah, during the course of the layout, there was a mistake made. Basically, in a short answer, I think someone bumped the instrument. There was a check done, so we know that when we set the nail in to lay out the house, it wasn't orientated properly, causing it to be rotated. And we only made 2 trips rather than 3 and compound problem. Here we are. So that's what's happened.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any other questions? Okay, is there anyone in the audience wishes to speak to the file or online? I have a resolution moved by Councillor LaCroix, second by Councillor Papard, whereas Council for Planning Matters Corporation of the Township of Liquid Bay hereby receives a staff report, bylaw amendment application Z1925 LOB 2493897 Ontario Inc., 25 Bridge Street, roll number 442704000904102, dated October 28, 2025, and whereas the applicant has submitted bylaw amendment application Z1925 LOB 2493897 Ontario Inc. to redesignate the subject lands in order to permit a reduced exterior side yard setback of 2.9 meters to an existing townhouse development. And whereas an amendment is required to delete previous site-specific exception RM1-E193 from the subject lands, carrying forward the relevant provisions and replace it with the new exception under the Community Planning Permit Bylaw. Therefore, be resolved, the application Z1925 LOB 2493897 Ontario Inc. be approved, and that the bylaw 2025-143 be read and passed by council. Questions or concerned? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. and I have a bylaw, the Corporation of the Township of Lincoln Bay's bylaw number 2025-143, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2021-111, known as the Community Planning Permit Bylaw 2493897, Ontario, Inc. All those in favor? And it's carried. Okay, thank you for that. Next, I have council variations to bylaw 2021-111, Community Planning Permit Application CPP 090-2025, LOB Knox. And this will be Arla. Go ahead, Arla.
Me again, thank you. Planning permit application CPP 90-25 LOB has been submitted for property at 1200 Seabreeze Road and is requesting relief to allow an as-built 2-story sleeping cabin and attached deck to remain. Relief is required as the as-built sleeping cabin exceeds the permitted gross floor area and height above and beyond what the CPP bylaw permits as of right. Staff are recommending the application be denied today. The subject lands are currently zoned waterfront residential and have substantial vegetation on the property. There were no constraints identified on the property at the pre-consultation stage. For some context, in 2023, the CBO attended on site and noted the construction of a dwelling addition and 2-story sleeping cabin, both constructed without the benefit of building or planning approval. An order to comply was issued in November of 2023. The applicants have since obtained building permits for the dwelling addition and are seeking planning approval to permit the as-built 2-story sleeping cabin and attached deck to remain. Should they be granted planning approval for the cabin, they will still be required to obtain building permits for the structure. The site plan is on the screen before you. You can see the as-built cabin in red, and the image on the screen shows the structure as found by the CBO in 2023. In terms of relief, specifically, this application seeks to permit a 2-story sleeping cabin with an increased gross floor area of 67.6 square meters, where the bylaw permits a maximum of 54 square meters. The structure is also requesting to be permitted at an increased height of 5.8 meters, where the bylaw permits 5.6 meters. The as-built structure is approximately 13.6 square meters, or 146 square feet, larger than permitted as of right. To clarify, the building has a footprint of 35 square meters. However, as the bylaw regulates total gross floor area, we have to account for the cumulative total floor area of the 2-story structure. And as such, relief is required to allow a greater gross floor area. The property has an existing lot coverage of 3.8%, and this application would result in an increase to 4.6%, where 10% is permitted as of right if council elected to approve. Just a couple more images on the screen there for you. Bottom left image shows the existing dwelling seen from the shoreline yard, and the right image shows another angle of the as-built cabin. Staff are not in support of the request to allow the as-built sleeping cabin with an increased gross floor area, as it is staff's opinion that it allows for building mass to dominate over the landscape and would not maintain the intent of accessory structures remaining accessory to the principal use on the property. Further, staff are of the opinion that sufficient justification was not provided for the as-built height increase. In terms of comments, the building department provided that the as-built cabin may be located too close to the existing septic. The building code requires a minimum of 16.5 feet separation. Any issues regarding the septic would be dealt with separately at the building stage. The township received 4 letters of support from neighboring property owners, and these letters were added to the agenda this morning, as well as an additional letter from the landowners. Staff would have no concerns with a proposal to construct a new sleeping cabin on site, provided it complied with the bylaw, but at this time recommend that the application be denied. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I know the agent is present. You have questions for them.
Questions for Arla? Councillor LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I guess if we do deny it, does that mean that they have to tear it totally down? My first.
Through you, Mayor Glover, yes, they would either have to remove the structure or revise the proposal such that it complies with the bylaw, whether that be converting a portion of the structure to no longer be a sleeping cabin. That would have to come from the applicants. But yes, the structure would be required to be removed.
there's no question, I have one. You don't have a photo showing the cottage in front of it, right? I mean, those are the photos you have. Did you attend on site?
Through you, Mayor Glover, a staff member did attend on site. There are photos.
I guess my question is, I understand that the sleeping cabin's taller than the cottage.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, we have some time yet. We have the agent here, Mr. Jurbeck, and I welcome you to the podium, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is me walking and chewing gum at the same time. I'm going to try to put on a presentation and speak at the same time, so thank you. Stefan Sherback, Plantscape Inc., 104 Kimberley Avenue in Bracebridge, P1L1Z8. I'm here on behalf of the owners, Lynn Knox, owner of 1200 Seabreeze Road. She's online observing the meeting this morning. It is still morning. The application process began earlier this spring following a pre-consultation meeting with staff. Plantscape was retained after the pre-consultation meeting to assist in addressing the legalization of this existing sleeping cabin. The structure itself, as mentioned by Arla, it has a gross floor area of 67.6 square meters, which is 13.6 square meters less than 150 square feet than what's permitted in the bylaw. The bylaw obviously includes a maximum of 54 square meters. The height that we're dealing with here, the height of the permitted structure is 8 inches above what's permitted in the bylaw, just to put things into context. Staff confirmed that the application should proceed through a Class 2 planning permit, and the bylaw itself does afford the opportunity to request exemptions to height and to gross floor area in this circumstance. It doesn't limit that to just the 54 square meters. Obviously, for those who are familiar with properties on Seabreeze, it's a long, skinny lot. It has an area of 1.4 acres or 0.58 hectares. The frontage is about 100 feet along Lake Bays. It's very well vegetated as indicated by staff. There's a lot of mature tree canopy, substantial shoreline vegetation, which really makes this development completely invisible from the water. And if I can just, here I am twice, I will do a share screen if I can. There we go. I just have a few slides. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Is it? No? There we go. Perfect. So the following slide is a photo from the dock looking at the property. You can't see the house. You can't see the sleeping cabin. I do note that if you obviously look to the left, there's a larger dwelling that's visible from the water's edge. Again, some very similar photographs. Again, those who are familiar, they're the Seabreeze Trail. The photographs were taken from Seabreeze Trail, showing the dwelling. You can't see the bunkie behind it. It is a single-story dwelling. If you look to the left, there's a large two-story dwelling. This is the photograph bottom left that is visible from the trail and from the water. If you look to the right, again, there's a larger two-story dwelling that again is quite a bit larger than the property we're dealing with. Again, showing the structure in play here. If you look to the right, there's obviously, you can see some of the neighbors, but there's clearly some coniferous vegetation on the side, which completely screens this structure from the neighbor. I do note that there are 4 letters of support from the immediate neighbors as well as individuals along Seabreeze. One happens to be a retired professional planner who has clearly indicated that there's no concerns at all and that this is extremely minor, and they are also suggesting that council consider this application. And then more importantly, from the bottom end, this is taken from, we stole this from staff, the staff report. This was taken from staff from Seabreeze Road. You can't see anything on this property from the road. I just wanted to show those. I'll stop sharing. Wow, okay. And do that. There, okay, so the video's off. Thank you. The property obviously contains a dwelling, sleeping cabin, shed, and pump house. With this structure, we're well below the maximum permitted lot coverage, 4.56%, clearly undeveloped property. I reviewed the staff report, and unfortunately, I respectfully disagree with the conclusion that the sleeping cabin dominates the landscape and conflicts with the intent of the official plan. In fact, the opposite is true in this instance. The structure was built on a pre-existing concrete pad with the former garage. No vegetation removal was required, no excavation was required. The new disturbance was essentially in play with an existing garage. It's located behind the dwelling. The dwelling itself is almost 48 meters or 160 feet from the water. Again, looking at the photographs, it's invisible when viewing the property from the water. On a side note, again, letters of support were received from the immediate neighbors. And again, the sleeping cabin is seeking an additional 150 square feet of variance from gross floor area and doesn't dominate the lot when compared to looking at some of the other properties along Seabreeze that have much larger development, very prominent when viewed from the water's perspective with some of the larger rebuilds. It's very clear that the natural landscape dominates this lot and not the structures that are in play. In the staff report, there are three policies that have been highlighted that collectively state that the built form should not dominate the landscape, visual impact should be minimized, natural landscape should prevail over the built form, and disturbances and site alterations should be limited. This proposal completely upholds those policies. The structure is located again on an existing developed area. All the vegetation has been maintained and you can't see any of the structures from the water or the road or from the neighbor's perspective as well. Policy H5 notes that development should maintain the character of the waterfront area, so the character in the Seabreeze area and the surrounding this property features significantly larger scale development, even on these legal non-complying 100-foot lots. Comparatively, the visual impact, appearance, and development of the subject property is very minor and remains in keeping with the waterfront recreational use and the existing character in the surrounding area. The staff report acknowledges that a 54 square meter structure can be supported on the property without variations. This is true, but if we were to take the two-story down and place it on the ground, you're actually going to get a larger structure that has a greater footprint than what's in play. Arla is correct. The surface area of the structure is 35 square meters. So if we were to go to 54 square meters, one story, there's more of an impact on the property itself. And in addition, you could put in a 3-bay garage and have a 54 square meter sleeping cabin up top. Maximum height is 8.8 meters. So you will have a greater impact with a larger 2-story garage than what's in play here. Again, we're looking for a minor increase of 150 square meters of GFA on a footprint that's smaller than what's permitted in the in your bylaw. The 1-story, so just again, it's my opinion that if we were to comply with the bylaw based on the 2 points that I suggested here, it is going to have a greater visual impact and a greater impact on the property. It will have more of a dominating visual impact than what we're looking at today. I'm almost done my presentation, sorry. The coverage itself, again, 4.5%. We're well below what's permitted in from the 10%. The dwelling is modest. Yes, it's single story, but they could also build a second story without an issue. And looking at the property from the water and from Seabreeze Road, you can't see the structure, even though it may be taller than the dwelling that's in place. Staff acknowledged that the property is heavily vegetated. There's no issues from the shoreline slope instability doesn't exist. No additional site alteration or vegetation removal was required, and the coverage is well below the minimum. These findings also prove that the development is minor in scale. What was done was environmentally responsible and consistent with the township's waterfront development objectives. The concerns contained in the report, and I think as mentioned this morning, were based on the perception that the second story alters the cabin's relationship to the surrounding landscape. While the report points to the gross floor area being 25% above the maximum permitted, a compliant one-story or even two-story garage will have a greater impact on visual and coverage perspective and be more pronounced on the landscape. The existing structure, again, occupies an existing pad, avoids additional land disturbance, preserves the vegetation. Again, all of this aligns with the direction of your official plan, as well as the environmental protection policies within the plan. So in summary, it's my opinion that the proposal meets both the official plan and the community planning permitting bylaw. The sleeping cabin is clearly ancillary and accessory. It's a lot smaller than what exists in play with the main use, the main dwelling. The natural landscaping will remain, and I do acknowledge that it was built without a building permit. The owners did submit an email to you this morning, sort of indicating their story and the issues that they had. This was not intentional. It was done by a contractor who's not familiar. I mean, again, we know there's no excuses, and I don't like approaching council with situations like this. However, they are sorry that we're into this mess here, but again, looking at the proposal in this instance, because it's there, and I encourage anybody to go out there to see if you can view the structure. The fact that it's there helps with the argument that this is clearly conforming to your official plan and doesn't visually dominate the property. If there's any members of council who are considering this application and maybe hesitating a little, I would suggest you defer it. Go out on site and before you make your final decision. But I would respectfully request council approve this application today based on the reasons there. It represents good planning, maintains the character of the area, and completely fulfills the intent of the township's official plan policies. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for Mr. Surbeck. Councillor Papart.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to agree that I think this is minor in nature, but there was something staff mentioned that has me concerned about it potentially being too close to the septic bed. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes, and I missed that point too. I agree, that is a concern. That can be properly addressed through the building permit stage. I know a building permit application was submitted for obvious reasons why we're here. It was denied. That will be on your building department's radar to correct that situation.
Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Stefan. What's the area of the deck?
Go ahead, Art.
Through you, Mayor Glover, I believe it's approximately 7 square meters. 7.7 square meters.
Okay. Of course, where I was going with that was, with it being 67.6, and we would prefer it to be 54, if you remove the deck, then
Okay, that would be designing. We're not doing that. Okay, Councillor Tapley, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Glover, I respectfully disagree with the no visual impact. Look at this. Building's not here, so I can't ask them. It's totally glass all the way around. When you light that up, it's going to light up like a lighthouse beacon. Yeah. So I think that does not comply with our bylaws. That's why we have building permits. I think there's something in the building code that says you only have so much glass on one wall or 2 walls, whatever. That looks to me like you got way more glass. I don't know. I'm not a designer. I'm not building code. But when you put lights in there, you can see right through it. So when you put a light in there, it's going to go 4 directions. Blast out of light. It's higher than the cottage. this is why we have building permits. So we're going to address this before. And because you can't see it, does not mean you can build it with a permit bigger than we allow. I have a lot of problems with this. I have sympathy for the Knoxes. Someone's not getting invited to Christmas dinner of this. I have sympathy for them, but this to me is way too big. I agree with staff.
Okay, Council, did you want to say something? Go ahead, Councilor Cry.
I'll try. Yeah, my question is to staff. As the consultant has said, if we made them tear this down, can they build a two-story or a garage with a sleeping cabin in it of 571 square feet or whatever it is? Permitted to do so.
Through you, Mayor Glover, yes, but the caveat is they still need to go through the proper process. So they would still need to obtain a planning permit and building permits to permit that.
Councilor Papard.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. On a similar vein, probably the same answer, but I'm asking anyway. If they turn the upstairs into storage, does it then comply?
Through you, Mayor Glover, it's hard to say. I can't speak to hypotheticals. There is still the matter of the height of the structure that would need to be addressed.
Okay. Is it Knox? She's on. Did she want to make a statement, or we'll just wait a second, see if she does? I'm not seeing any.
I didn't think she was.
Oh, okay. She
yeah.
wants to stay out of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, any other questions for Mr. Surbeck? I think we covered a lot of things, including Christmas dinner. Okay, thank you, sir. So I'll open up the floor, and I have a couple things I want to say. Firstly, I want to say that I agree with staff on this one. With regards to how it could be rebuilt is a different story. We can't redesign it, as Councillor Brooks tried to do. There can be some rebuilding involved. There was a letter from Mrs. Knox suggesting that there was an argument with the building inspector and their contractor. Did you see that in the letter? I assume you did. So I went immediately down to building to have a talk with our building official. Both Mr. Watson and Mr. Perboom were both on site. Yes, there was quite an argument. There was a lot of discussion, and nothing was agreed to at that time, okay? So at first, there was no permit at all. This got built by, it sounds like a family member or a friend or someone. So there's all kinds of questions around that and where the septic is with regards to that as well. So there's a whole bunch of issues I see that are a problem, on top of the fact that it's too tall, that it's glass, that it'll light up. And sure, there's trees around and so on and so forth. We can say we don't see it, but however, that doesn't mean we can permit it. TAC, I'm sorry, couldn't be here today to tell you, but there's more to this than we're talking about, and I believe that there might be into kind of having a real close look at the structure itself, which might allow for it to be shortened, if that's the biggest issue. But it's too large. It doesn't fit within it, and if they want to tear it down and come back for another permit to build garages and things above it, that's a whole different application. We can't go there unless it comes in front of us. So we have to deal with what's in front of us today, Council. So I will say that I am behind staff on denial, and there'll have to be a discussion around how this could be possibly resubmitted to fit into our bylaws. So I'll go back out to the Councillor Brooks, not with designs though.
Thank you, Mayor. Going back to Stefan's early comments, I'm wondering, because this is a conundrum, there's no question about it. Is there a likelihood that the applicant might want to request a deferral?
In light of the fact that you got to say why you want the deferral Councillor Brooks.
Thank you for that clarification.
Not why you want it, why you want them to request it.
I am somewhat sympathetic to the fact that they have built a building, but I'm also concerned because they built it without a permit. They built it too high. They have too much percentage of glass. Is there something that they can look at without me talking about design, that they can change it so that it's going to be more in keeping with what we can accept?
Okay. If you stay there just for a sec, because you might have further help as to direction, or is this just another comment about Christmas? Go ahead, Councillor Tapley.
I don't believe a deferral will help because I don't see how this can be brought into compliance. As it stands, it's not a no-go. Looking for the word. I'm searching for the word. But that's why we have building permits, so you don't make this big scrub. And I would like to hear what Takas has to say, but I'm sorry he can't be here. So you can defer it. I don't know how you're going to defer it and bring it into compliance with bylaw.
Okay, is there anyone in the public wish to speak to the file? Mary Lee Chisholm.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah.
And your name and address. Your name and address for the record.
It's Jamie Chisholm. The only reason seeing barely it's my wife's computer. I live at 1208 Seabreeze, approximately 100 feet south of the subject property.
Hey, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would comment very strongly that I normally have the highest regard and respect staff's considered reviews of various applications, and I certainly understand the context of this. Some of this should not have happened with a building permit, but as a resident, I can say that the materiality of the proposed variations is minuscule. I can tell you that the adjacent properties are, including mine, are not dominated by this structure. It is built in the exact footprint that has been there for decades. And I just don't see the materiality of this. And I would, as one of the councilors suggested, perhaps attend the site to see the actual building in the context of surrounding buildings. It's not something that dominates. Again, because it's the existing footprint, the proper concern about it being too close to the septic system, that may be the case, and as someone has suggested, can be addressed in the building permit process. It may be too close, but it's the same proximity that's been in place for decades. So they haven't, in my opinion, created or worsened what's been there for a while. So they had the opportunity to make better that situation through the process. And again, I think the scale of the property for what's on this property now versus what has happened elsewhere on Seabreeze is, it's reasonable. It's not greater than has been approved elsewhere.
Okay, if I could ask a question, sir, you said it's been there for decades on the footprint. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, this building, this Bunky, my characterization is on the footprint where a storage or garage structure has been for well long before I lived there. So I don't know the exact date of construction, but I would submit that it was probably built in the 60s or 70s, maybe earlier.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for this gentleman here? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that council, that there's, it's been built. My take is it was an illegal build, and so then now it's been there for decades, is what I'm hearing. And the footprint, but distance from the septic, and the other concerns I have in speaking with building is there's a lot to be discussed with regards to structurally how this is built, and there's nothing been agreed upon, right? So we had to go onto site to order them to comply to get a building permit, and then now we haven't said good, it's good. It's just where we're at. And then this reapplication came in finally for this part. So there's a lot to be discussed with building is all I can say, because TACA's not here, and that's all I can say. I'm not a builder. Councillor Tapley.
However, do we know if any inspections have taken place inside and during the build?
My understanding is yes, but there wasn't agreements made, because as the letter said, there was arguments. Councillor Papard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To staff, just to clarify my part, I'm getting a little confused. So let's say, for example, we said we did not deny today. They still have to go through a lot of stuff with building. If it's not built correctly, they have to tear it down and rebuild it. Would that be the case? Theoretically, I know we can't talk theory, but because building isn't here, I need to ask planning staff.
Through you, Mayor Glover, the answer is yes. They will still need to comply with the building code.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so then back to the question Councillor Brooks had for, you sat down. I appreciate that. It was quite a conversation. Do you wish to defer?
Question to myself. As I mentioned earlier, if council thinks that it would be beneficial to see what it's like on site, then yes, please defer. But based on the conversations that I've heard, we can't blur the lines between a building code situation and a planning exercise. This is an exercise in land use planning, not building code. Your official plan doesn't say building cabins shall be 54 square meters no ifs, ands, or buts. The planning process allows for variances in instances that are subject to a review of your official plan. Your official plan doesn't say anything about lighting. Your official plan doesn't say anything about, these are all issues as it relates to building code issues, and this is a land use planning exercise. So back to what Councillor Brooks had mentioned, in terms of changes to the application, the deck itself doesn't count for GFA, so that doesn't matter. That's not into the situation. We're looking at what's within the walls. Can they change what's within the walls? Probably not. I think deferring to change the application is highly unlikely, or without moving a wall in this instance. So again, we're in a situation where this is built. You can see it. They can turn the lights on, and but any building code issue has to be completely separate from this discussion, and we're only looking at your official plan policies, and your official plan policy doesn't say the maximum bunkie shall be 54 square meters.
Okay, so what I heard is that no, they're not looking to defer. So I will be supporting staff on this, and I will read the resolution unless you have further questions. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. I'm confused about the footprint and what was there before. So I'm hearing, was this structure there for decades, or was there a different structure there for decades?
So
what am I understanding?
So I asked that, and apparently it was a garage or something.
I needed clarification on that.
It was a garage, apparently a long time ago or something.
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, 38 square meter, one-story garage on a cement pad. Garage was removed, cement pad remained, the sleeping cabin was constructed on top of it, same footprint.
just a lot taller and against, okay. So, anyone further? No? Okay, moved by Councilor Papard, seconded by Councilor LaCroix. We're gonna put part of this up on the screen. Whereas the Council for Planning Matters, the Corporation of the Township of Licka Bay hereby receives a staff report, Community Planning Permit Application CPP 09025 LOB Knox, 1200 Seabreeze Road, roll number 442701002003 dated October 28, 2025, and whereas the applicants have submitted Community Planning Permit Application CPP 09025 LOB Knox to permit the construction of a 67.6 square meter as-built two-story sleeping cabin with a 7.7 square meter attached deck, and where relief from the following sections of the bylaw 2021-111 is required to permit the proposed construction. There is the bylaw requirement and what is applied for. Therefore, be it resolved that Community Planning Permit Application CPP 09025 LOB Knox be denied. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? One opposed. So that's carried. Thank you. We've got, do we have a closed session today? So we've got two applications left. Staff, council, how do you feel? You want to take a break or? Yeah, there's only, okay, so we're going to keep going. I'm into Community Planning Permit Application CPP 08125 LOB Fitzpatrick, and this will be Ashton. Good morning. Yes, still good morning, Ashton. Welcome.
Good morning. Okay. CPP application 81-25 LOB has been submitted for the property located at 1159 Port Cunnington Road in order to permit the demolition of an existing 98.4 square meter dwelling with attached deck, an outhouse, and woodshed in order to construct a new 107.7 square meter dwelling. Relief is required to permit an increased overall lot coverage of 13.4%, where 13.1% is existing, and a maximum of 10% is permitted. Staff are recommending approval of this application. A previously granted Category 1 development permit DP 27-2017 permitted an increased maximum lot coverage of 11% to facilitate the construction of a shed. Land area has since been confirmed by an Ontario land surveyor, E.J. Williams, dated July 15th, 2025, which reflects accurate lot area and resulting in an existing lot coverage of 13.1% and a proposed lot coverage of 13.4%. The proposed increase in lot coverage falls within the threshold of a Class 2 council variation planning permit under the Community Planning Permit bylaw and complies with all other provisions of the bylaw. Staff conducted a site visit on October 2nd of this year. At that time, it was observed that this 2.6 square meter woodshed had already been removed. Following the completion of this report, confirmation was also received that the outhouse has since been removed. So these are just some pictures from the site visit. So the first one is kind of the rear of the property, looking at where the new dwelling is proposed. And again, showing shoreline area and where the area where the new dwelling is going. So overall, in terms of comments, there were 2 letters of support received from neighboring property owners. These letters are attached to the agenda for your review. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed dwelling conforms to the intent of the township official plan and community planning permit bylaw, fulfills the criteria of section 2.13 of the bylaw, and would have minimal negative impacts on adjacent properties, and integrity of the waterfront area is maintained. If you have any questions, I am available to answer them. The owner, I believe, is also available online, and the agent is in the gallery.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Council, questions for Ashton? Not seeing any right now, and so you say the agent's here, and could the agent come forward, please?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Ian Karn from 3336 Baysville, Scarborough Road 117. I'm the agent. I don't really have anything to add. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any. I've worked diligently with staff to try to proceed to push this through, and and I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions for the agent? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this file? Okay, I have a resolution. Moved by Councillor Tapley, seconded by Councillor Papard. Whereas the Council for Planning Matters, the Corporation of the Township of Lake Bays hereby receives a staff report, community planning permit application, CPP 08125 LOB Fitzpatrick, 1159 Port Cunnington Road, roll number 442701001400900, dated October 28th, 2025. And whereas the applicants have submitted community planning permit application CPP 08125 LOB Fitzpatrick to permit the demolition of an existing dwelling, outhouse, and woodshed to facilitate the construction of a 107.7 square meter two-story dwelling, resulting in an increased overall lot coverage. And whereas relief of the following section of bylaw number 2021-111 is required to permit the proposed construction. And it's up on the board. Now, I have a question here. So can I just read this and see it's on the board? Yeah. Okay, there's just a lot of stuff here. They've written a novel. And it's all attached to the report. Now, be it resolved that the Council of Planning Matters of the Corporation of the Township of Lake Bays hereby provisionally approves this application pending the following. And they're on the board, they're in your package. Does anyone have any questions? For the vote, all those in favor? Oh, sorry. Okay, so there's no question?
No question.
Okay, so for the... Okay, all those in favor? And it's carried, thank you. And that's it for that one. That's it for that one. Okay, we're on to Community Planning Permit CPP 09925 LOB Miller, and this will be Ashton. Go ahead, Ashton.
All right. So CPP application 99-25 LOB has been submitted for the property located at 1012 Kenny Road. The purpose of the application is to permit a reduced shoreline yard setback of 16.8 meters to a proposed 12.8 square meter covered and enclosed deck attached to an existing dwelling where a minimum of 20 meters is required, as well as to permit a covered and enclosed deck addition to an existing legal non-compliant dwelling, resulting in an increased gross floor area. Staff are recommending approval of this application. The subject property is currently developed with an existing legal non-compliant dwelling encroaching into the shoreline yard setback, with a shoreline yard setback of 14 meters to the closest point of the dwelling and 11 meters to the closest point of the attached unenclosed deck, where a minimum of 20 meters is required. The covered and enclosed deck addition proposes a 16.8 meter shoreline setback and will not be furthering the non-compliance and will not increase lot coverage for the property, as the addition will be constructed on the existing attached deck. So as part of the approval of a previous CPP application 118-2024, a planting plan was approved. CPP 118-24 allowed an increase in lot coverage of 11.5%, which accommodated the addition to the existing dwelling. This planting plan will be part of the approval of this application as per Schedule B of the draft resolution. So this is just some pictures of the property. As you can see, it is already under construction, as well. The front portion, kind of on the right, top right-hand photo, shows where the enclosed deck is going. And then some shoreline pictures just showing where the area will be revegetated once construction has completed. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed dwelling addition conforms to the intent of the Township Official Plan and Community Planning Permit Bylaw, fulfills the criteria in section 2.13 of the bylaw, and would have minimal negative impacts on adjacent properties. Therefore, staff have no concerns with the approval of this application, subject to the recommendations outlined in the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and owners are in the audience if you have any questions for them.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Questions for Ashton? Councillor Tapley.
Thank you, Mayor Glover. Ashley, was this property construction started without a permit?
No, it has proper permits in place.
Further questions? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks. Just for clarification, could you talk about the present water's edge and what is being measured? Do you understand my question?
I think so.
Okay,
so
thank
through you, Mayor Glover, so the setback that they're already at 16.8 meters, because they're now enclosing a portion of an unenclosed deck, it is furthering basically the non-compliance of the legal non-conforming dwelling. So we're just here to recognize that they are encroaching a little bit closer to the shore at that 16.8 meters, but increasing the gross floor area of the dwelling as well.
Okay. Further questions for Ashton? Okay, is there someone in the audience who wishes to speak at the podium? Not seeing any. Is there anyone online who wishes to comment? Anyone from the public at all? Not seeing any. Any further questions, council? Okay, we're going to put up on the screen the giant resolution again. Moved by Councillor Papard, seconded by Councillor LaCroix. Whereas the Council for Planning Matters, the Corporation of the Township of Lake of Bays hereby receives a staff report, Community Planning Permit Application CPP 09925 LB Miller 1012 Kenny Road, roll number 4427 030 00409 700, date October 28, 2025. And whereas the applicants have submitted community planning permit application CPP 09925 LB Miller to permit a reduced shoreline yard setback of 16.8 meters to a proposed 12.8 square meter covered and enclosed deck attached to an existing dwelling where a minimum of 20 meters is required, as well as to permit a covered and enclosed deck addition to an existing legal non-complying dwelling, resulting in an increased gross floor area. And whereas relief of the following section of bylaw number 2021-111 is required to permit the proposed construction on your and in your packages, now therefore be resolved, the criteria is outlined in section 2.13 of the community planning permit bylaws fulfilled, and community planning permit application CPP 09925 LOB Miller be approved in accordance with attached Schedule A, subject to the following conditions, which are also on the board and in your package. Questions? All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. There's a book. Oh, this is it. This one first. The Corporation of the Township of Lake of Bays, bylaw number 2025-11144, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 28, 2025 Council for Planning Matters meeting. All those in favor? Carried. And moved by Councillor LaCroix, seconded by Councillor Papard. Be resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Township of Lake of Bays hereby adjourns at 11:39 to meet again on November 25th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in a hybrid meeting setting. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today. Everyone have yourself a wonderful day. Bye for now.